Look, Isekai is a great type of show. Anyone who disagrees is objectively wrong. Let me prove it to you. Anime Engineering here. Today we're taking a closer look at the genre YouTubers like to bash and the industry likes to stash. It's Isekai. So why exactly do studios pump out all this stuff reviewers facepalm over? Well, the short answer, you guessed it, money. Now I will back that point up in a second, but the important question isn't even about money. First things first, contrary to popular belief, a low effort show isn't that much cheaper to animate. You still need to buy the script, or make an original one I suppose. But you're still gonna pay me, right? Yeah, about that. I ran the numbers and it's just cheaper if you don't. Oh man, not again. And you still need to animate it, though the animation quality can of course vary. Worse is of course cheaper, but that's no different from other shows. In this aspect, Isekai is the same as every other show out there. There is well animated Isekai and poorly animated Isekai, just like every other show. And make no mistake, Isekai isn't such a big player because there's a shortage of excellent original stories to animate. If studios wished for it, even the amateur scene is teeming with them. You see, not a lot of people watch an Isekai show and say, oh, you know what, 9 out of 10, but it's just missing that one, oh yeah, a smartphone. But I got you fam, and make their career all about making copycat Isekai shows. So there are other stories available, and there's no money saved by making Isekai in place of other shows. No matter how soulless reviewers may claim the shows to be. So why do the studios keep picking up just about anything that's actually an Isekai? The answer is, to no surprise, because it sells. Sword Art Online has been one of the most popular shows for a long time, while any tubers consistently trashed it. Sword Art Online sells. On the flip side, remember Manglobe, you know, the creators of Samurai Champloo? They had a reputation for high quality shows that really expressed the uniqueness of every single creator in it. Yeah, they went bankrupt in 2015. Natural selection, really. So people don't always want unique shows. It's a bet. But people want Isekai. It's popular. Why? Well, I'm here to tell you, it's because Isekai is not a bad type of show. And anyone who claims otherwise is objectively wrong. Be it the most veteran, high-profile reviewers you can even think of, or that guy you met that one time, if they said Isekai is a terrible genre, they are objectively wrong. Though I guess we can still debate whether Isekai is a genre or not. Mind you, they may not be subjectively wrong. Maybe they don't like that kind of show and that's on them. Bold claims I'm making, eh? Consider this. In their 2004 research paper comparing 14+2 types of fun in commercial versus educational space exploration digital games, 8 university researchers expanded on the Mechanics Dynamics Aesthetics framework for video game development. Look, big words, I know, just look at it like this. These guys expanded on a list of the kinds of fun from the textbook of video game makers. But hey, it's types of fun, not types of video game fun. So let's borrow that textbook for a little bit. Not to hold a 20-minute lecture on this, I'll explain stuff as we go. Just know there's no less than 16 different types of fun listed in this paper. And they should be seen as categories, where you can align a lot or less so with different kinds of fun. Relevant example. Notice the distinct lack of music in this video? Did it bother you? You may align with beauty, that is, anything that pleases the senses like great graphics, sound effects or indeed music. You might be able to tell I'm lacking in that department, so I always skip the intros when I watch anime. It's not like I don't like music. In fact, I'm listening to it while writing this script, but not while recording this, because, hey, you'd hear it. So if you ask me why do I skip the intros, well, I'm not here for the music. I'm here for a great story. Does that argument sound familiar? I think I've heard it before. This is a very common type of argument used against certain kinds of Isekai, especially those revolving around plot. I skip the intros and don't notice music and sound a lot in shows simply because I don't align particularly much with that kind of fun. Not that it's not a valid kind of fun. So to argue that ecchi shows aren't good kinds of fun is subjective and thus, objectively speaking, wrong. This is the first chip in the foundation of the myth that Isekai is a bad genre. This is also the start of objectively evaluating a show based on its merits, something you'll hear reviewers insist is impossible. Is it though? Am I wrong? Tell me in the comments. So hopefully I've now established that we've all got different taste. But there is now a tool to help nail down exactly how your taste stars align. Yeah, you heard that? You can have Virgio or Libra taste in anime, and your taste can perhaps even be the Cancer. So where was I? Oh yeah, I just called your favorite YouTubers objectively wrong and claimed you have Cancer in taste. I'd better hurry up and elaborate before you grab a pitchfork. Reviewers generally focus on, well, why don't I show you? Here's what reviewers could or should focus on in a reviewing essay. Notice how they all focus on the same aspects? Generally speaking, reviewers will score their shows based on these categories. Of the 16 types of fun, that means they mostly focus on just 7 of the kinds of fun, just shy of half. But in specific cases, other things are also reviewed for. Now, before we continue shooting down bullet points on this list, I have to mention immersion. This category is basically the joy of not being in your usual environment. This includes escapism. Reviewers often mistakenly label this as all isekai is. An escapist fantasy. This is, as I will display in a second, not the whole truth. Only reviewing for under half of the kinds of fun sounds really bad, but it's not entirely their fault, because there are a few that just really are not applicable from games to anime. There is a split. For example, physical activity. Well, it can happen, but it's rare even in TV shows. Though it does happen, just think about fitness programs. Also, creation in a passive medium, yeah, good luck with that one. Social interacting is a very interesting one, as it might encompass the community around a series, as you can't exactly interact inside an anime. Reviewers could actually review it, but they generally don't. But again, of course, the community might be largely irrelevant to the show itself as a standalone piece of art. And application of ability, that being defined as physical abilities like hand-eye coordination, yeah, that's not gonna happen. There's also advancement and completion, basically the joy of progressing and finishing stuff, like a series. It's related to grinding, and it's often the reason people hang on to shows they sort of don't like anymore. Though this is not really a super valid criteria for a review either, as it's very subjective. Possibly, except if we are talking the collection of things, as in watching Ash collect all the Pokemon. But that's iffy at best. A few are situational reviews though. Learning is reviewed for mostly when it's very clearly there, like in Cells at Work. Tons of praise for all the cool learning bits, but seeing reviews for medieval realism or if the science of a show is on point is generally a bit harder to come by, mostly because it requires specialist skills and a lot more research. So that leaves us with 3 kinds of fun. And these 3 kinds of fun are the literal cornerstones of isekai. Reviewers pretty much ignore them, and without it, they're reviewing the abilities of a fish to climb in a tree. Their evaluation will be objectively, factually wrong. A shark is not unviable or a pretty bad animal because it doesn't climb trees. A shark is a 60 million years old, extremely successful powerhouse of a predator. So I present to you, the gap between what's popular and what the reviewers like is from the neglect of the strengths of the isekai genre, the new powerhouse of popular anime genres. Altruism. The first of the 3 is helping people or NPCs. In other words, in isekai, that's the main character helping people. A lot of isekai leans heavily on this, but as I'm taking on an entire genre here, there are outliers. Notably, Overlord, where the main character is technically evil. I mean, Ainz does save villages and such, but he's no, that guy. Smartphone homie. Yeah, I'm terrible with names. Power and competition is the final 2 categories. They represent your impact on the world and displays of your superiority. Just get this, to focus on these 2 types of fun, as a writer myself, I'd have a strong self-insert character, and I'd shove that dude into a world where it's a lot more believable, and not to mention easier for me, to change the world itself based on his actions and his decisions. Though the real world would technically be viable, it's probably going to have to be some sort of sports show, as real fighting is mostly frowned upon here. And then I'd have him show superiority by winning stuff, fights or competitions, whatever, and change the world and those around him in the process. Bonus points if he does stuff where everyone is in awe of his abilities. Does this sound like isekai yet? Oh, and some sports anime, coincidentally. Throw in some side stuff to maximize the enjoyment for different kinds of viewers, like fanservice, which is and was common in anime since forever, and maybe some special characters designed to show how superior and awesome the main character is compared to everybody else, like say guys acting all surprised, or set fanservice girls fangirling. on the main dude, and boom, Isekai. A genre spawned from min-maxing on an, at the time, fairly overlooked kind of fun. Now we just need the reviewers to catch on and review it for how well it does this. Until then, let's all trash Isekai some more, because I align poorly with those kinds of fun anyway. Okay, so, well, this is the part where I admit I didn't tell you the truth. The whole truth, and only the truth. My argument is not just for Isekai. Isekai is uniquely well suited to the so-called power fantasy. But as I alluded to earlier, sports anime can do this as well, and you'll often see this in general fantasy. Most Isekai is a power fantasy in some capacity, and this will all apply. But there are Isekai that aren't power fantasy. They're generally well received by reviewers, and are counted as unique exceptions to the genre, not the rule. Isekai is leaning on the power fantasy trope. I've argued this is not bad, and Isekai is not bad because of it. This has been Sen of Anime Engineering. See you next time.